Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. Nestled between the dense forests of Northern California lies the small town of Oakhaven. With a population scarcely exceeding 5,000, it seems an unlikely backdrop for violence and tragedy. The main street, lined with quaint shops and local diners, exudes a comforting air of anonymity. But in the shadows of this picture-perfect community lurks a darkness that would ultimately change its residents forever. On a seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning in late October 2015, the rustling leaves were whispered secrets, evidence of a quiet world that would soon be shattered. The first hints of autumn settled uneasily, wrapping the landscape in golden hues that masked an undercurrent of unease. As townsfolk went about their daily routines, the peaceful facade began to fracture. At approximately 8:30 a.m., local school bus driver Tom Larson made his rounds, calling out familiar names as children boarded the bus. The crisp air filled with laughter and playful banter, a sound naive to the impending horror. It was around this time that Sarah Matthews, a well-liked librarian in her early 30s, failed to show up at work. Friends and coworkers noted her absence with concern, unaware that this would be the last time they would ever see her. As daylight faded, the first wave of worry began to ripple through Oakhaven. Only a handful of people knew that the truth lurking behind obscured doors was about to come to light. Each unturned stone would lead investigators deeper into the twisted labyrinth of secrets held by the town's unsuspecting residents. The victim. Sarah Matthews was not just a librarian. She was the heartbeat of Oakhaven. Her warm smile and welcoming demeanor made her a trusted friend and confidant amongst the townspeople. She had moved to the area 5 years prior, seeking solace and a fresh start after a difficult chapter in her life. With her love for books and knowledge, she quickly became a beloved fixture, hosting story hours for children and assisting residents with research and community projects. Her modest home, a rustic cottage at the edge of town surrounded by towering pines, mirrored her personality, inviting yet slightly secluded, a place to retreat from the outside world. Friends often described her as fiercely intelligent, with an uncanny gift for making people feel understood. She had a quiet determination, often seen volunteering at local shelters or organizing book drives. People felt an innate trust towards her, which is perhaps why her absence went unnoticed for as long as it did. Days passed and concern grew. Her phone went unreturned while her car remained parked outside her home. On Wednesday evening, her closest friend, Clara, remembered Sarah mentioning a potential new project. When Clara was unable to track her down, she turned to the police for help. With the sun setting beyond the horizon, Sarah's disappearance spiraled into something more than just a simple concern. It became a matter of urgency. As officers approached Sarah's cottage the following day, they felt the palpable weight of dread cloaked in silence. The door stood ajar, a small, uncharacteristic detail that sent chills down their spines. Inside, they found an unsettling scene that would mark the beginning of a tragic investigation, altering their small town forever. The crime scene. As officers crossed the threshold of Sarah Matthews' cottage, they were enveloped by an eerie stillness. Shafts of late afternoon light pierced through the windows, illuminating motes of dust that danced in the air. The scent of old pages and lavender lingered, masking a sense of urgency that pulsed within the walls. It was a place filled with knowledge and warmth, now tinged with foreboding. The first officer on scene, Detective Mark Evans, scanned the modest living room adorned with bookshelves brimming with novels and knickknacks. On an oak table lay an open book, its pages fluttering in the light breeze that sneaked in through a cracked window. A steaming cup remained untouched beside it, a haunting reminder of the last moments of Sarah's life. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, disregarding the chaos that filled the officers' minds. Moving into the kitchen, Detective Evans noted the disarray. A chair toppled on its side, the remnants of a half-eaten meal left behind. A glass had shattered on the tile floor, shards glistening like diamonds against the dreary backdrop. It was clear that something had gone terribly wrong here. Another officer approached, pale and shaking, having just come from the bedroom. Evans braced himself for the next revelation. The bedroom door stood ajar, revealing a scene that would haunt the investigators long after the case was closed. Sarah's personal belongings lay scattered across the floor, but it was the sight of the unmade bed and the absence of Sarah herself that spoke volumes. Only the Polaroid of her smiling with friends remained on the bedside table, now flipped face down, a disconcerting silence, echoing the questions hanging in the air. Outside, the first whispers of media scrutiny began to circulate, but for now, the officers held tight to their composure, preparing to investigate the chilling reality of what shattered their community's peace. The early investigation. In the days following the discovery at Sarah Matthews' cottage, the small community of Oakhaven was engulfed in a thick fog of fear and speculation. The once tight-knit town had been thrust into a whirlwind of panic, and the whispers of their once peaceful existence became a haunting echo. Detective Mark Evans, alongside his partner, Officer Rachel Turner, found themselves overwhelmed as they navigated the delicate task of piecing together Sarah's last known movements. The initial interviews with Sarah's friends and acquaintances revealed a woman who, while beloved, had also faced her share of struggles, most notably her painful breakup just months prior. Her ex-boyfriend, David, now living 2 states away, was questioned but offered nothing beyond a feeble alibi. He spoke of his own regrets, hinting at a neglected relationship, but Emily and Rachel's instincts told them there was more beneath the surface. As they compiled a list of potential suspects, they uncovered hidden layers of jealousy and tension swirling around Sarah's life. Friends mentioned a recent fallout with Clara over a minor disagreement and argument that seemed trivial next to the larger crime at hand. Then there were murmurs of a customer in the library, a reclusive figure who had exhibited strange behavior, lingering in corners and casting judgmental glances over Sarah's interactions. Day turned to evening, and the rhythm of life in Oakhaven continued to falter as lights dimmed early in homes, doors locked a little tighter. Detective Evans and Officer Turner prepared another round of interviews, worried that each conversation could lead them closer to the truth or further into a morass of deception. It was only a matter of time before the facade surrounding Sarah Matthews' life began to crack, revealing secrets entwined with a shadowy undercurrent of betrayal. The dead ends. As the investigation wore on, Detective Evans and Officer Turner found themselves entangled in a web of dead ends. Despite persistent efforts, each lead seemed to dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Days turned into weeks, and the initial urgency that ignited their pursuit of justice began to transform into the weight of defeat. They revisited the scene of the crime, combing through Sarah's belongings once more, hoping that an overlooked detail would surface. With forensic experts providing support, they scraped through the kitchen and bedrooms, finding remnants of life hair, fibers, and every minute clue that might offer insight. But nothing led them closer to the truth. The lack of physical evidence created a painful sense of frustration, amplifying the isolation felt by the community. Outside, townsfolk gathered in small groups, their muted conversations swirling like shadows in the dimming light. The coffee shop buzzed with theories, while residents shared glimpses of Sarah's life, distilling her essence into fragments that no longer resonated with the reality of her disappearance. The outpouring of community support was palpable, yet it felt more like a smokescreen for a grief that was penetratingly deep. With each passing day, Detective Evans and Officer Turner worked tirelessly to sift through Sarah's digital footprint emails, social media, contact lists. Yet the process felt Sisyphean. Every assured connection led only to a wall of silence. Every promising lead turned up fruitless. The haunting question of whether they would ever unravel the truth loomed heavier with every tick of the clock. Then, just when it seemed everything was at a standstill, an anonymous tip arrived, suggesting that all was not as it seemed in Oakhaven. It was a glimmer of hope, but would it lead them toward justice or deeper into a chilling rabbit hole? A break in the case. It was a crisp morning, and the anonymous tip finally propelled the investigation into a new direction. The caller claimed to have seen a figure loitering near Sarah Matthews' cottage on the night of her disappearance. With a newfound sense of urgency, Detective Evans and Officer Turner raced to track down the source of the lead. The informant, a teenager named Jake, who frequently frequented the local skate park, shared that he had seen someone suspicious, a tall man with dark hair, wearing a baseball cap pulled low to obscure his face. Jake described him as having an unkempt demeanor, awkwardly pacing outside the cottage, hands stuffed deep in his pockets. With details taken down, the detectives asked Jake to recall if he saw the man interacting with anyone or displaying any unusual behavior. With hope ignited, they circulated the teenage boy's account among patrol officers, asking for any similar sightings or reports. As the day wore on, Evans and Turner learned that the individual Jake had described fit the profile of a transient who had been spotted around Oakhaven in recent weeks. Having developed a reputation for odd and erratic behavior, he had caught the attention of local shopkeepers, many of whom regarded him warily. Fearing they were onto something significant, the detectives delved deeper into the transient's background. Records uncovered a history of altercations and run-ins with the law, along with a known tendency to disappear when things grew too heated. As the pieces of evidence began to coalesce, a feeling of bittersweet hope emerged amidst the overshadowing fear installed by the unknown. The detectives arranged to have uniformed officers canvass the area for the man described by Jake, but they understood that every passing moment could mean losing a critical lead. With every thread pulled on this man's history, they encountered a tangled timeline filled with both promise and peril. The suspect. The investigation zeroed in on a man named Jordan Hale, a transient known to drift between towns, often evading the authorities. Once an artist, his creative ventures had been overshadowed by struggles with addiction, his life reduced to wandering and searching for his next victim. His connection to Sarah Matthews was tenuous at best, previously unnoticed, until Jake's tip provided the missing piece of the puzzle. Detective Evans and Officer Turner pulled together a recent photo of Hale and distributed it among locals, hoping it would ring a bell. The next day, a bartender at the town's dive bar recognized the image. He had seen Hale in the vicinity of Sarah's cottage just days before her disappearance, although the details he provided were hazy and unfocused, underlined by the haze of his own life experiences and the dim atmosphere of the bar. Buoyed by this reinforcement, the detectives increased their patrols, focused on the areas Hale was known to frequent, targeting parks, abandoned buildings, and the outskirts of town, places where someone like him might find refuge or perhaps hide. Their efforts were soon rewarded. After several days of searching, an officer spotted Hale loitering in a secluded alley behind a grocery store. When approached, he adopted a defensive posture, randomly focusing on his phone as if to distance himself from the inquiry. Evans engaged him in conversation, attempting to gauge his reactions, but Hale's nervous demeanor fueled their suspicions. His wide eyes darted nervously, hinting at hidden depths of anxiety. After a brief exchange, the officers arrested him for questioning, capitalizing on an outstanding warrant from another jurisdiction for petty theft. But as they moved him into the squad car, Evans felt a surge of resolve and apprehension. They needed to uncover Hale's whereabouts on that fateful night, and whether those whereabouts held the key to understanding what had happened to Sarah Matthews. The moment hung heavy in the air as they drove, the past colliding with an uncertain future, each turn of the wheels taking them one step closer to unraveling a case that threatened to tear their town apart. The trial. The air was thick with anticipation on the first day of the trial for Jordan Hale. The small courthouse in Oakhaven, typically a hub for minor disputes, buzzed with an unfamiliar energy as residents filtered in, their faces a mixture of hope and anxiety. They had gathered not just to seek justice for Sarah Matthews, but to reclaim the shattered innocence of their tight-knit community. As the proceedings began, the prosecutor laid out the case against Hale. With a calm and resolute demeanor, she recounted the chain of events from Sarah's disappearance to the haunting details unearthed during the investigation. Testimonies from the detectives, including Evans and Turner, painted a picture of Hale as not only a suspect, but a man with a disturbing history that ominously echoed throughout the courtroom. Hale's defense attorney presented a stark contrast, arguing that there was little corroborating evidence directly linking Hale to the crime. He called into question the reliability of witnesses, including Jake, whose testimony they claimed was merely speculative at best. As doubts began to form, and the defense honed in on the plausibility of a mistrial, whispers rippled through the audience. The tension was palpable as both sides wrestled for grip on the truth. Over the course of the trial, more layers of complexity revealed themselves. Questions arose about Sarah's life that demanded scrutiny and painted her as a multifaceted individual rather than an innocent victim. Some friends spoke candidly about her struggles, inadvertently distorting the narrative that once portrayed her solely as a beacon of light in the community. As the jury reached a difficult consensus, the choice hung heavily over them. With a verdict still veiled in uncertainty and speculation, the glimpse into their fragmented community intensified. The irony of seeking closure revealed itself as every witness left the stand, exposing not just a pursuit of justice for Sarah, but an exploration of the hidden threads that bound lives together, often beyond comprehension. The fate of Jordan Hale now sat squarely in the jury's hands, a poignant reminder of the complexities of human existence, fraught with both darkness and light. The aftermath. The verdict was delivered in a somber atmosphere, the weight of the jury's decision echoing throughout the courthouse. Jordan Hale was found guilty of the murder of Sarah Matthews. As the words hung in the air, they reverberated with mixed feelings among the gathered townspeople, intertwined with grief, Many hoped that with this decision, Oakhaven could begin to heal, yet aches still lingered from the loss. In the days following the trial, the community struggled with the aftermath of the decision. While some chose to find solace in memorials or support groups, others wrestled with the haunting remnants of fear and distrust that lingered like fog over their once peaceful town. Those familiar spots, the library, the park, became shadowy reminders of a tragedy that shattered the lives around them. Detective Mark Evans found himself sinking into a cycle of quiet contemplation. The victory felt bittersweet as he recalled the smiles and laughter of the vibrant woman who had been stolen away. They had sought justices, but the void Sarah left was insurmountable, and the scars etched into the community would take years, if not decades, to fade. As local leaders attempted to fortify Oakhaven's sense of unity, occasional whispers of resentment surfaced. Some residents held differing opinions about the handling of the case, questioning whether more could have been done. Others felt a sense of complacency unraveling within them, as though the fabric of community they once knew was now frayed and tattered. Through it all, Clara, Sarah's closest friend, set up a scholarship in Sarah's honor. The initiative aimed to empower local students to pursue literature and the arts, the very passions that had lit up Sarah's life. In this way, she hoped to keep Sarah's memory alive, transforming grief into a resource for future generations. The life of Sarah Matthews, one tragically cut short, became a poignant reminder that within the heart of darkness, the flicker of hope could still shiny hope, flickering, yearning for renewal. Reflection. As life slowly resumed its rhythm in Oakhaven, the lingering reflections of Sarah Matthews' life cast long shadows over the hearts of its residents. The vibrant details of her presents, the warm conversations, laughter echoing in the library, and her unwavering support for friends remained etched in their memories. Yet, in her absence, they found spaces of vulnerability, each person grappling with how her story intertwined with their own lives. Detective Mark Evans often wandered the shelves of the library where Sarah once delighted children. He remembered her kindergarten storytelling sessions, enlivened by her passion for introducing young minds to the world of literature. In quiet moments, he pondered the delicate balance between justice and loss. The pursuit of truth had taken them down a dark road. Yet the bond of the community seemed to emerge somehow stronger, though fragile, like the best story. Clara felt Sarah's spirit alight within her as she introduced the scholarship winners at the annual ceremony. She shared stories of their achievements, reflecting on how they embodied the very essence of Sarah's nurturing spirit, opening doors to new adventures she would never embark on. And with each acknowledgement, the community began to heal, transforming grief into gratitude and understanding. In those reflective days, Oakhaven learned not just to remember Sarah Matthews, but to celebrate her life through the compassion that emerged in waves, redefining how they measured time and connection.